And just like that, we're back. We're back and we're live. It's another Monday Morning Money show. It's such a great show. We've been having just a blast on here with so many great people. I have a treat for you today. You know what, man? I just want to get straight into this interview. We were a couple minutes behind, so please bring on Tim McCarn, the great and powerful Tim McCarn. How are you doing, my friend?
Man, Billy, I'm doing great, man. Up here in Charlotte, North Carolina today, enjoying this nice southern weather. And get to be on the show with you, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, thank you for getting on here. Listen, there's a lot of things going on in the world right now, and I feel like freedom of speech is such an important thing. So this is my platform until they deplatform me. So I just want to ask you, first and foremost, we're going to have over 1,000 people watch this thing. You know, a lot of people come back and do the replay. People take notes. So let's go ahead and get the most important thing out there. What message would you like, if you could tell any message to anybody? This is your platform, man. Spread the word, the good news, whatever it is you want that you know people need to know.
Man, listen, the whole world experiences the wounds of our hearts. We are born into a world that is set to assassinate the hearts of mankind, and that there is only one that has solidified the wholeness and the healing of one's wounded heart, and that is Jesus Christ. That's the message. And
All
so
right.
the wholeness of a person is the assignment of Christ. And so I am a living, breathing testimony of that very same message.
Awesome, man. I know you also, do you run a church? Tell me, I may get that terminology wrong. Tell me what it is that you do. Tell me how you're in the ministry.
I got you. So a little bit about myself, 4-year Air Force veteran, Desert Storm veteran, come back home after my 4 years was up, got into the automobile business, started with this little small company. You may have heard of them called Sonic Automotive. But I was with them before they went public. And so got to work with Bruton Smith and Scott Smith early on in my career. Spent 10 years in the automobile business. But during that time, I made enough money in stocks to send myself to Bible college. And I felt like I just wanted to enhance some learning while I was in the automobile business, building a career. Come back home after that, working in the management side of the automotive industry. And then one day in 2003, I took the plunge in starting a little church in the city that we call Mount Holly outside of Charlotte. And from there, with 11 people, now 18 years pastoring a church that I planted, and 11 churches I've planted outside of that one church. And then, 30,000 square foot of facility space, 16 acres of property. God has blessed it, and we're still influencing our community, giving to the needy every day of the week. And that's my assignment, has been my assignment from the ministry side of things.
So how big has it grown to now?
Lord, so planting 11 churches, you have to learn how to divide yourself. So we have the building that we currently have seats 750 people. And we have currently, I've pastored up to 750 folks at one time. Right now, we're about 350 because of the plants that we've had over the course of time. 2 of those have been Latino churches. So we planted 2 full-blown Hispanic churches out of that church in the last 18 years also. So, and then every week, every Saturday, we feed families in our community groceries. And so the last 3 weeks, we've fed 1,600 families groceries. So that's a big missional part of us. So we reach our community needs. We're constantly doing that. That's what I call the nonprofit side of my purpose, is where we just dive in, we give back, we pay it forward. That's what I do. So, and I'm a kid. I'm one of those kids that came out of that, Billy. So I was raised in a broken home, standing in line at the post office to get some cheese and some food stamps with my mother, single mother, my little sister. So I came out of that, and I know the power and the impact it takes, what it does when you give to someone in need, and you never know who you're giving to. You never know who that small child is sitting in the back of that car when you're putting those groceries in the back. It could have been me. And so I know the power of that love that comes when you extend that helping hand, and kids grow up and they give it back. So
Yeah, man. I've been in those lines as well. I've been on food stamps. I remember that government cheese, and I remember all the jokes you hear about it, in the public schools. So, do you guys? I think this is a nationwide thing here in South Georgia, where we're from. You're in the Charlotte area. Do you guys? Is this also the childhood cancer awareness? Is this the time of the year that you guys do that, or is that something you just do throughout the year? Are you sure?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is the season that we get into that. So we really reach and we do a lot of community things internally with raising awareness and raising funds for that cause directly in our area. And I'll tell you this, and it's funny you bring this up. So last Sunday, I surprised my wife with this dog. All right.
Yeah.
So, I had a lady call me and she said that she's a hair salon. She owns her own hair salon. She does hair. And so she says, I had a client pass away and her husband has this dog. He can't take care of it. And we're trying to find a home for it. And we'd been talking about a dog, but had not made that plunge yet. Got 3 small kids. And so I go get the story on this dog, and this lady that owned the dog just died of cancer 2 weeks ago. And literally it's a golden doodle, and I surprised my wife, but my wife didn't know the story behind this dog. And so this dog is literally amazing because this dog spent the last year walking with its owner through the transition from this earth to the next, walking through the pain, the heart, the suffering of. There was 4 bouts of cancer this lady went to, but this last one, it just took her on out. And so this dog spent all that time with this lady. And now we get to experience the love that this dog has had. Anyway, it's a whole story. I'm going to use it somehow through this whole deal. But yeah, it is that time of year, Billy. It is.
So, again, this is my platform, and today this is your platform. That's why I'm allowing you to, let's talk about these things. It's so important. This is a money show. Don't worry. We're going to get into money. You cannot grow. You cannot plant 11 churches. You cannot minister. You cannot build a congregation like this man has built without money. Okay. And what I love about the United States of America is we use this system called capitalism. So many people think car business, bad, but capitalism is a wonderful thing. And we happen to be in the car business, and making money is a very good thing. Profit is a very good thing. So I'm not sure where negativity and making money got together. I know there has been some very unscrupulous people in the car business in the past. But I want to talk to you, and more importantly, I want you to talk to me about relationships with good people. And that's how we met, you and I. Yes. Okay. So, we've already talked about the ultimate relationship, but when it comes to money and relationships, tell me your thoughts.
Man, listen, Billy, these are some principles that I've always used. And people sometimes ask me, say, how in the world can you be a pastor and be in the car business? Well, I was in the car business before I was ever a pastor. And I watched guys in this business, in this industry, live out a life of convictions, live out a life of pure character, and still put a work hustle to it to generate income and wealth for their family. I go by there are 5 principles that I live off with, which are the spheres of wealth. Okay. First is spiritual wealth. You got to be wealthy spiritually. All right. And that means you have your heart is set toward God. It is set toward the things of God, the principles of God, and then the wealth of your soul, which is the intellect of a person's mind and who the person is in their own intellect. Be wealthy in knowledge, be wealthy in wisdom. Okay. And then number 3 is the physical body. Try to always take care of yourself, right? Always take care of this temple, because this body literally is housing that soul and that spiritual person. Okay. Number 4 is social, which you just brought up, is relationships. Okay. So I have to be wealthy in relationships, meaning that I have to value every person that is in my life as if it was me. So love each other, love others as God has loved you. And so, or as you love yourself. So I have to treat everybody in my sphere of relationships with like their treasures, and they are the greatest wealth in this world is people. Okay, the greatest resources in this world is people. And then the last one is the influential. I have to continue with my relationships, build my corporate influence, in the systems of the world. I have to build whether it's in the part of nonprofit, I have to give back. I have to put my investment into giving back to my community. That's an influence. All right. That's a reaching poor, reaching the needy. If we stay in this bubble that we live in, we'll never see the very opportunities to give out in front of us. And so I build these principles. And so I keep my relationships as pure and honest as I possibly can. But I understand that as long as I honor is huge in the world which I live in. So I only have how I've honored others in my life. And so if I keep the system of honor working for me, then everything else that I will touch will be anointed to grow. I won't curse it. Wherever I go, no bridges are burned. I constantly am honoring those that God has set in my life, even today, and as they will come tomorrow. So that's a big piece for me, Billy. That's the spears of wealth. And so if I work on these 5 spears in my life, and I make sure that each one of these are wealthy. Okay. Now I'm not just talking about, having a little bit of this. I'm talking about that all of my relationships are healthy and they're wealthy. When I say wealthy, I want everybody to hear me now. I'm not talking about money. All right. We can get caught up in talking about calling wealth money. All right. Now money solves a bunch of daggone problems. All right. But being wealthy is to be whole. All right. So I want my relationships to be fruitful. I want them to be vibrant. I want them to be living. I want them to be green. I want them to be, and that's pulling. That's just constantly pulling. So it's the law of exchange. So yeah, that's where I'm at, Billy.
Okay. I love it. Now I want to dive in. I want to really drill in on the money part. This is a money show. Mm-hmm. Totally agree with you. Wealth, you need to be totally wealthy. You have to be spiritually wealthy, physically wealthy, and monetarily wealthy. But, it is possible to be rich in money. Okay. Mm-hmm. And be lacking in those other areas. So, but I'm, to be the best person, to be the most productive person, you need to be physically, spiritually, and monetarily.
Well, I'm sorry, Billy.
No, go ahead.
So what about this? You can be rich and be sick.
Yes.
You ever met someone with a lot of money, but their health was really bad? And so to find the wholeness of wealth, I guess that's really where I'm going at, is that they're finding that wholeness of wealth. And, I've seen people not have as much money, but they had an awesome marriage, and they had a great relationship with their spouse. I've also seen people with a lot of money and having a great relationship with their spouse, kind of like you and your wife. You guys extend all that charm, that love. You can see the unity with your home as you're digging and grinding every day. Both of you guys are grinding every day, and you can have a great, fruitful relationship, but you have to invest in it. That stuff just doesn't come for free. You got to put the effort into it. So anyway.
And it's hard work, and I'm gonna get into work in just a minute, work and money. But I want to hear your thoughts about this. You work with my Digi Ninjas every day. They set appointments for you when you go out and work events. But when I hire these people, I find it is sad, but it's an opportunity for me. And this is my mission. This is my calling. So when I sit down with these young people, I always ask them a few questions. I say, has anybody ever told you that you can be rich? And I've yet to have one. And we've got about 48 ninjas and employees right now. And we've probably had another 40, come and go. So we're close to 100 people have sat down with me, and I've asked them, has anybody ever told you that you can be rich? And I'm talking about money. Okay. Because that's everybody. I think most people, we live in a wonderful country where most families are loving families, and they love their kids, and they tell their kids, to be good and to love God, but not very many parents. And I don't think it's out of, I think it's out of, they just don't know that you can be rich. You can take it a step further and say it's your responsibility to get rich, because you're a better person. You can be a better person and more powerful and do more good if you have a lot of money. But it's sad to me that no one yet has said, yeah, man, my 11th grade teacher said I should be rich, that I'm going to be rich, or that I can be rich, or yeah, my mom tells me that all the time. So do you teach the people in your church? Do you teach the young people in your life that they can get monetarily wealthy, and that there's a plan, there's actual steps you can do to get that?
I sure do. And on that is that I tell people all the time that there's a blessing on your life, and that wherever you put the soles of your feet, you can declare that they're yours. And meaning that Jesus himself spoke in the New Testament more on money than he did prayer. So if we can't eliminate the fact that God doesn't desire us to have money, all right. So, but and God only answers the prayers by which. So God doesn't answer all prayers that we throw up. He only answers what we can manage. So literally, so if I can ask God to give me $1 million today, well, I know he heard me for that, but he'll say, well, right now you probably can only manage $150,000 based off of what you've done up to this point. So everything in the principle of money is in management. All right. So let me get back to this rich thing. I truly believe that it is God's desire for everyone to be wealthy and to have money and to be rich. What happens is, again, as I started this broadcast, we jump into this world. We come into this world that is set to attack our hearts. That heart is the wellspring of life. Okay. But when I was born into this world, I went through that whole deal. I had both of my parents, both never graduated high school. They worked blue collar jobs. My dad, blue collar job. They were mill workers, and they never owned their own home. They paid rent to the mill that they worked at to live in someone else's house. You're talking about capitalism, pure capitalism. All right. You didn't need a car to drive to work. You walked to work. And if you didn't come to work, they could see you out the mill window and see if you was at home or not. So anyway, but you're talking about poverty. So when I graduated high school, Billy, I didn't even know that I could get a grant to go to college. I didn't think that college was even affordable to me, because my parents never even graduated high school. They didn't even know what college was. They didn't know the language of college. Making money wasn't in their equation. Being wealthy never was in their language. Being rich, that was a dirty word in our home, because they never thought that they could ever achieve that, right? So all of a sudden growing up, I never had nobody like you, Billy, or anybody tell me that I could be rich, okay? So I go in the service, I come back home, and guess who I meet? I meet a guy who was extremely wealthy. And I began to think about, and I began to hear his story, that he came from nothing, and he was born the same way I was, but he and I were two different people at that point. He just actually put the work ethic, and then knowing that he could have something, and so he goes from a little farm now owning speedways and dealerships and having all this money and has people driving him everywhere. He got private jets everywhere. And I said, well, if he could do that, then I can do that, right? I can put the work. So having someone to tell you and then to watch someone live it out, that's what you got to have. When you see those two things, you begin to believe that you can do the same thing, and you can have all those things, and you receive that. And I think that's what you're saying to these guys, and I love it.
Yes, it is. And I want you to take it a step further, and I want you to speak to them, okay? Because you said something right there that I've used in my life. And, when I was young and I was in high school, and man, I was far from rich, and I had not yet discovered, the wealth of being, or the importance of spiritual wealth. Okay. So we would be in places like, Amelia Island, Fernandina Beach, in these big, beautiful homes on the water. And, people would say stuff to me like, man, it must be nice and stuff like that. But I don't know who put it in there. I feel like that God put it in there. The understanding that, you know what, if whoever's got that house, if they can do that, then I can do it too. So I want you to speak to the young people right now who grew up or who are growing up possibly like you and I did. We'll just say middle class at the most, okay? Poor to
Right.
middle class. And I want you to tell them that rich is not a dirty word, and explain to them what the opportunities are for them.
Yeah. So here's a principle on this. Guy says, I'm broke, I'm unemployed, I don't have a chance to succeed. And all he's doing is talking about his problems, all the lack that he has. He's living in a little apartment. He's got an oven in the stove in the apartment, and he uses it twice a week to cook with, but he keeps going around saying how broke he is. Well, this is what we call abuse. Okay. He's abusing the resources that he actually has to create provision. And that oven stove can literally be used to make a bag of oatmeal cookies that he can go out there and sell at the market or somewhere and start bringing cash and revenue in. All right. So that it's all about the spirit by which someone wants to take and use the resources that they have. So you either want it or you don't want it. You either want a job. All right. So most folks are working jobs. They're not working purpose. I can use those oatmeal cookies that I make in that kitchen to turn around and buy me a lawnmower. And I take that lawnmower, then this is management. I take that lawnmower and I go start me a lawn care service. I start me a lawn care service, and then I turn around and buy me another business, or I'm buying everything. I'm using the money that I'm getting to lead to what I dream to do. And so I'm not working a job. I'm working for my purpose, and I'm loading the cart that's going to help me get to where I want to go. And so if you catch yourself working for money, you'll catch yourself at a job. But if you catch yourself working for purpose, then you'll find more significance doing what you're doing. I could be sitting there working the drive-through at McDonald's, using that money to get me to where I want to go. So literally it's the spirit by which, and you can do it. I can do it. And if you're sitting there today young, you're a millennial, or maybe you're 18, 19 years old, and you're just wanting to find your way, listen to me. At 22 years old, I was making $150,000 a year right out of the Air Force. Okay. And that was not because I had a degree, not because I was special, because I put the hustle to it. And when I put the hustle to it and I began to see others doing it, I just wanted to win. And out of that winning spirit come loaded money in my pocket. You know what my purpose was then, Billy? My purpose was then I wanted to go to Bible college. I wanted to go to college. That was my purpose. And I still use the tools this day to continue to feed what my purpose is. I use the money that I make in my own business to turn around and help my community and build a church. That's what I do. I put my kids through education. That's my purpose. I live on purpose, not a job. If I live life like it's a job, I will be dissatisfied, disgruntled. I'd be the ugliest person to be around all the time and wouldn't do anything. But because I live on purpose, I find value in everything that I do and everywhere I go. Even the dealers, Bill, listen, even the dealers that I walk in their stores during the week, and some of our clients and our accounts that we service and do a great job with, by the way. And the Digit Ninjas and all those guys are amazing to work with. And thank you for all the work you do and the help you give us making these events successful. But dealers, owners, salespeople, finance guys, all this stuff, greeters, receptionists, these folks that see me walk into the door and I'm there to host an event, and they're wanting me to sell cars. But time I get done, we've impacted the bottom line. We've made the numbers right. We've encouraged the sales team. The receptionist is getting blessed because we're in the building encouraging people. That's purpose. All right. So you're impacting people. You're speaking upward to somebody. You're getting them up out of where they've been and where they're going. You're speaking to their dreams. This is wealth. This is finding the full spectrum. I'm not there just to make money, but wherever I go, I'm going to make money because I got the right attitude with it. So you get this all moving. And this is for these kids. You can get out there and you can, this country, God bless America. We can do anything we want to do. We can make all that we want to make, and we can have all that we want to have. And all you got to do is put your mind to it, get your heart right, set your heart to it. And then you can achieve any of your dreams, whatever you want to do. Man, if you want to go build orphanages in other countries, go make your money in the United States and then go build orphanages in other countries, whatever it is.
Yeah, man, it's great stuff right there. Working on purpose working on purpose. You said a lot of things there. I'm just going to pick out a couple of words and get you just keep going. Okay.
All right.
You talked about speaking, blessing. You talked about speaking. You talked about words. So tell me, I'm sure you have a principle about speaking things over your life and how important your words are. And let's talk about self-talk. Now, I don't mean, praying, hey, God, give me $1 million. I mean, is self-talk, is it important? Is it a real thing? Is there a principle on the words that we use?
Yes, there is. One of the things I have a mentor in my life, and he's a former Olympian fenceman from the Munich Games back in the 70s. He's a former naval officer, an African-American man named Bert Freeman, and he has been in my life for quite some time. And he started teaching me these principles, and I'm telling you that they have brought so much significance and direction for my life, and it's all word-based direction. So when I speak to something, this is how powerful your words are, because we use this principle, okay, that I can speak to a mountain and tell it where to go, that life and death is in the power of my tongue, that what I say matters. Okay. So meaning that there's a lot of significance if life and death is in it. So he started coaching me on removing negative words, okay, which are stop words, halt words, don'ts, ain'ts, can'ts, all these things that we use that stop the conversation. Buts, that but word that jumps in there. So, and it's a completely different language. It's like learning a new language all over again. And so we started going through that, and I began to think as a closer, as a husband, as a business owner, as a spiritual past, as a past. And all that. So so I began to put this into action. And so when I'm talking, I have an attentive direction or an end result where I want to go. Where am I leading the conversation? How quickly are we getting there? And to be able to assert the language in a positive forward movement and making sure that where I'm wanting to go, what I want to say is said in the best word, using the best words and the best language in order to get the best results. And so you go through these principles, and so you're using life words. You remember, life and death is in the tongue. Life words, and I want to use my words to get me to from point A to point B as fast as I possibly can. Just like a good closer, you go to close a car deal. You don't want to be sitting there for the next hour trying to get a yes out of somebody. You just got to overcome the objectives with positive words. When they give you a negative, they give you a wall. You got to figure out how to march around that wall to get that wall down. All right. And so the quicker you can get directive and moving, the quicker you can change their mind or change the situation off the negative into a positive thing. And so using words, using fruitful words, using these words that are vibrant, that are living, to give direction. And at the end of the day, you want to build up instead of just stop and halt. You want to move forward with these words. And so I could give you some examples, but these are principles with life. This is principles with when I talk to my wife, when I talk to my children. How do I instruct my kids on making sure they make a better decision on what they just did? So if my child walks in and he's got his muddy shoes on and he starts walking through my house, my first instinct is, son, you better stop yourself right now, and you better turn your butt and get up out of my house with those muddy shoes. That's my first initial thought. What is appropriate is to say, hey, Braden, can you come here, please? Can we talk about why you have muddy shoes on in my house? So now I've turned into a coach. Now I've turned the situation. Now I am not stopping him, halting him. I've brought him to a place to come listen to me. And now I can coach him on why he shouldn't bring his dirty shoes in my house, instead of stop, stop what you're doing. All this, which, it's a better direction. We're not trying to stop him from living free in his own spirit. We want to teach him on how to take care of stuff, how to manage the home. And that's big on management. And I'll say this, there is strong principles when we talk about words, because words have to be managed, Billy. They have to be constantly managed because it is the wellspring of life. So if I work on managing how I talk and what I'm saying, then all of a sudden my life becomes more effective. My business becomes more effective. My relationships become more effective. How I spend my money becomes more effective. Okay. So then when I say how I spend my money, there's an efficiency that comes out. So I'm just not saying something to say it. I have something to say, and I want to get it said, and I want to give direction as clear as I possibly can in order to get an intended result. So word management, we talk about management all the time, but management with your words is so powerful, and it leads to wealth. It leads to riches. It leads to all these things that we've been talking about so far.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a lot of things I want to talk about. We could probably take this interview right on into a couple of hours, but we like to get done so Grant's show comes on at 12, but we may have to go a little over today. So I want to back up to something you said right there. It is very interesting, and I think I know what you meant, but it almost went over my head, and I want to make sure it didn't go over anybody else's head, or maybe everybody else knows exactly what you meant. But you said you didn't want to stop your son from living free. And do you know what I'm saying there? Do you remember exactly what you said in free in the spirit?
Yes.
Tell me exactly what you said and what you meant.
So our children, we have children for development, and they are to be developed. So each one of us has our own spirit. We are uniquely designed and created by God. So my spirit is different than yours. My spirit is different than my son's. My spirit is different than my wife's. And we all have a different, unique DNA. So he has a DNA that has to be developed. All right. So he's moving at a pace. He thinks something is important that he has to get to, whether it's running in for dinner or running in here to grab another ball glove to go out and play with his friends. Something is more important that is causing him to make the adjustment to make sure he's doing the right thing with his shoes. I'm not trying to stop him from making an important, spontaneous decision. What I'm trying to do is make sure he counts the cost or is looking at what's going on while he's making the decision. So he is 9. I have to teach my 9-year-old. I have to develop him on how to make decisions in the middle of making decisions. Mm-hmm. So, meaning it's mind management, it's managing your thoughts. And so that's the thing is, so instead of crushing his spirit, I want to coach his spirit. I want to coach him as he's making these decisions. And I want to be a good father. And a good father does that. A good father develops. A good father is seeing his most precious investment and resource that you and I will ever have as our children. So we have to coach their spirit. It's the same thing with an employee. It's the same thing with having an employee. If I have an employee, and I do, my employees have to be coached by me. I have to teach. They come to work for me. They don't know everything that I know. If they did, they would be doing what I'm doing. So I have to be able to coach them because I want them to take my place. I want them to do more than what I've done, but I have to coach them as they're learning. But if I'm constantly saying, no, 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 I want you to do as much as you possibly can so that, do as much as you want to do, go as fast as you want to go. I'm just going to hopefully get you to listen to some of the things that I can help you with. I can't tell you what to do. I can just tell you what not to do. Okay. There are certain things that there's many mistakes that I've made. And I can talk to you about the mistakes, but I never want to tell you what to do, because if I tell you what to do, then I'm going to stifle your spirit. I'm going to stifle what's really the potential inside of you. And so that's it. It's really coaching that spirit of a person.
Man, I tell you what, man, you seriously, you woke something up in my spirit just now that I'm 45, 46, keep forgetting how old I'm 46 years old. And I read a lot. I've read hundreds of books, possibly thousands, but I've definitely read hundreds of books. So, but now I just, realized something. I think you just showed me something that maybe I knew it. Let me just put it out there and see if everybody else is on the same page with me. Our children, regardless of their age, they're in the middle of making important decisions all the time. They may not be the decisions that we think are important, but if that kid's running in there to grab a softball glove, a baseball glove, that is a very important thing that's going on in their life right now, and it's important to honor that.
That's right. And he's getting that glove, not that he needs one. There's obviously someone out there he wants to play with that needs one. Yeah. So literally, I could be halting a charity move on my child's sake and don't even know it. I could literally be stopping.
You could be doing so much. And I'm just thinking back to the mistakes I've made, right now. I'm not preaching to someone for sure. I'm trying to think this through. This is what I love about this format is, we can go on as long as we need to, and we can figure out what we're really talking about. We can learn some things. Mm-hmm. People can back it up and listen again. There's no sound bites here. We may put a sound bite or two out there to try to get somebody to watch it in the future, but this is the real deal right here. So, if we're responsible for our children, our purpose is to develop our children. And so many times we don't do this, when in fact, all we're doing is making, if they're obedient, let's say they're obedient. They look right, talk right, sit right, they're quiet right. But you may not be developing that person. You could be damaging, you could be causing harm when it looks like you're doing something that's good.
That's right. I go by motto. There's a motto that I run with in my organization and with the church or anybody that I'm associated with. And this motto is this: trust is the speed by which any organization or relationship moves at. So literally, trust is the velocity of anything. So two are better than one. All right. One can chase 1,000, two can put 10,000 to flight. Okay. So I had to use this is my terminology, my life principles. So if my son has trust his father, because I have built a trusting relationship with him that I will listen to him. He listens to me. We begin to build a trust. All of a sudden now the speed by which and where he's going to go is going to increase. All right. And so the same thing with everything in our home, we're going to begin to move faster. You ever found that place where you're constantly saying the same thing over and over and over again? And it's almost like no one's getting it. No one's hearing it. You keep saying it, but nothing's going, nothing's moving. The issue is not that they can't hear. It's the fact that they can't trust. And so they're trying to trust your words. They're trying to trust what's coming out of your mouth. If I'm constantly telling my children, no, 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 eventually they'll stop asking me and they'll just go do it. Okay. So that's what we call rebellion. All right. So now we've created a whole nother dynamic, which is the whole dishonor thing. Remember earlier we were talking about honor. Honor is so important. That's why upward live. That's honor. We always honor up. And if my child learns how to honor his father, that's what the Bible says, that our days will be fruitful in the earth. That word fruitful is prosperous. This is where wealth and riches come into. Here's a good note. I had a conversation with a couple yesterday, and they were talking about how that his father died and mother and father died, and they gave him two pieces of property down toward the Carolina beach. And this lady said, I was raised in a home of six. Our parents could only afford to put food in our mouths. She said, and she began to weep and talk about the blessing of an inheritance. All right. So that now they have a land in 2 different parts of the state. They can go to the beach when they want to without having to pay rent or a resort fee. They can go stay at their own place and then come back here to Charlotte. And I looked at them and I said, that's the blessing. That's the power of honor. So God blesses you. You turn around and honor and give it back as an inheritance to your children. Now the favor is falling on them. This is the part of honor. And that's honor. You honor up, and the honor will always flow down so it gets on my kids. And if I have an honoring relationship with those that are over me, then my children will see that on me, and then they'll begin to honor me as I treat them, as I treat others. Okay. So there's this flow of that. And so I'm not a stoplight for my kids. I'm not a stoplight. Most of our words sometimes are green, yellow, and red. We say when we want it green, we say when we want it yellow, and we say when we want it red. Well, what if their speed's different than my speed? What if they're developing quicker as a child than I developed quicker, because I've already given them a lot more than my father gave me? So I must understand the speed by which they're moving is much more greater. I remember this. My dad raced dirt tracks. Okay. This is race dirt track, drag race, and all this other stuff. And there were other guys that were 16, 15 years old racing on Friday night. And I wanted to race. I was ready to drive. But my dad had this deal where he was afraid to put me on the racetrack. He was so cautious. But my speed, I'd been around it my whole life. I'd seen it my whole life, Billy. I wanted to get out there and drive. But my dad wouldn't let me drive. You know what happened? All the no's drove me away from driving a race car. It drove me, and that was my burning passion at 15 years old. I wanted to race. I wanted to get behind the wheel. I had 2 other buddies of mine that were the same age as me. They're racing on Friday nights. Why can't I not race, Daddy? Why won't you put me in the car? And it was no. I don't know why his no. He never explained it to me. But what if my dad would have sit down and said, Tim, let's talk about development. Let's get in here. Let me coach you on this. All I heard was no. And eventually, 18 years old, I signed up for the Air Force. I'm out of here. I'm not doing this anymore, Dad.
Yeah.
You see that?
I do see that. And I'm reflecting here. I think all of us are on a journey, and we're figuring this thing out. So getting good information, that's what this show is all about, is getting good information. So if I can have someone like Tim on here and you can gain some information, the past is over. Let's do it better in the future. I want to do 2 things, Smith. I want to read some comments, and then I have a little bit of dialogue. We're going to jump right back in because there's some very important things. I want to get some good information from this guy. But let's just take a look at the comments and see who's been watching today.
All right. Got a lot of positivity.
All right, let's roll.
Merritt Stalker says hi. Tim McCarn and Billy W. Merritt, happy Monday. Livingston Scipio says Big Country is watching his mentor.
All right.
Big Country
says God is good. Yvonne Hines says America is great because of capitalism.
Totally.
Amen.
Caleb Wilson, Tim is a deep well of knowledge.
And that's the relationship that, I talk about relationships all the time, but I met Caleb a long time ago, and Caleb met Tim a long time ago, and we're together because of that. Would you want to comment on that, Tim, or were you just saying, hey?
No, I was just saying, hey, yeah, these guys that are, even Caleb and those guys, Yvonne Hines posted on here, Billy. Yvonne's nationality is Jamaican. And so a little over a year ago, Yvonne didn't even have a place to live. He got in the car business, and literally this year alone has made more money than he could ever imagine. Just bought a brand new home for his family. They just moved into it, got a beautiful wife, his children now, but he is living the capitalism dream where you can walk on a car lot and have no money in your pocket, and a year from now be making $15,000, $20,000 a month and going buying your own home. So
I'm going to speak to that. Again, if this goes over, it goes over today. Okay.
Got it.
When I was at a low point in my life, I didn't have driver's license. The vehicle I had, I can't remember. I know they were trying to find it to repossess it because I wasn't making payments, and didn't have insurance on the vehicle I was driving. But I called one of my mentors who is a car guy. And I said, man, I just need to sell cars. He said, come on. So with with all that going on, I went to work every day. I was the first one there. I was the last one to leave. I had blinders on. I was working on a purpose, like you said. I had to get my life back straight. I had to get some. I had children, and I was freshly divorced, and it was a very dark time. And I put those blinders on, and I was the first person there and the last person to leave. And I sold 42 cars my first month, and a few months later, my money problems were solved. And then, thank goodness, April came into my life in a big way. And, we came up. We've came an extremely long way since then. But it's just, it's capitalism. The car business has changed so many people's lives for the better. So I wanted to speak on that. And it's just so amazing that Yvonne is from Jamaica, and he understands what capitalism is, and because we have talked about, I don't want to do it today, Tim, but I have talked about capitalism and socialism before on the show, and that's too long of a show to get into. But let's go on with the comments, Smith.
Got it. Jeremy Newell says, faith without works is dead. Never stop believing and never stop working.
Amen.
Brady says 5-star information right here. Working your purpose.
Good job, Brady.
We got a lot of those. They like that. Catherine Minke Taylor says work for a purpose.
I'm going to start calling her Minke because
did I?
I thought it was, but anyway, that's fine. Okay.
Jocelyn McCarn says live on purpose.
Now, who is
that's
that?
Good.
Who's Jocelyn?
That's the first lady of the McCarn house right there. That's my beautiful wife. You can see her in that picture, and there are 3 kids.
Isn't it wonderful to have a support team and somebody on your side that gets you and supports you?
Listen, you getting on a whole nother subject, but a great one. And to have a helpmate, someone who is joined with you on your purpose, and the purpose, literally, you're both working for the same purpose.
Yeah.
And so you get up every morning, in your family's purpose, that you've got a goal, you got a dream, you got somewhere you want to go, and you're doing all that to get there. And that's my wife. She gets up. She's a great cheerleader. That's why God gave Adam Eve. All right. And he gave Adam Eve, and he brought her to Adam. He hand delivered her. And so God said, you're alone. Adam didn't know he's alone. He had no idea he was lonely. Okay. But God knew he needed help. And so the help part is to take a barren earth and a barren garden. And the only way that garden could grow is if they went and worked it. Okay. So it's the working of the garden then produces the food that produces the life that they were going to have together, and then the children, etc. That's the power of having a helpmeet and having somebody that wakes up every morning and says, go get them. You're right. Go bring back the resources that are going to feed our purpose in this earth. My children know that when I travel, Billy, when I get in my car or get on a plane and fly out to go do an event, my children know this. Daddy's not going to go to his job. We don't say that in our home. They said, Daddy's going to get resources to provide for our family and our purpose. That's how my kids are dialed in that way.
The show's definitely going to go over because there's so many things that I got to get some more comments on about that. But yeah, no doubt about it, man. Having that family unit and having everybody on the same page it's so important. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But let's get through the comments. We have some fans, and I greatly appreciate them.
Livingston Scipio, once again, I'm so thankful for the message I'm receiving today. Thanks, Tim and Billy.
Thank you, Livingston.
Joy Lawrence Lockhart says hi.
Hello.
And she replied, yes. She was agreeing with something. I cannot remember exactly what it was. Kim Simmons Nolan says, I like the phrase coach the spirit and not crush the spirit. I think that's a great phrase for any person, whether it be a teacher, parent, employee, or employer. Okay. I love your show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Kim. I want to get into some more conversation right here. So thank you for everyone who did comment. Kim, thank you for liking the show. That means a lot to me. So I want to talk about some things that you have said already today. First of all, let me say, language is important. And if you haven't noticed by now, then listen to me and then back up and watch it again. Tim McCarn is a language guy. He is being very positive with his language. He's using words that mean something. He's not just using random words. He's using words that have a purpose. Okay, there's some. I'm going to talk about some of those words that he's used already, And I'm going to see if we can get through this show without it going about 2 hours or something like that. But you used the term life. You said, well, it's a biblical term. It's a biblical verse that life and death is in the tongue, right? Or the power of life and death. You can correct me and say it exactly like it is. But that life, is that life possibly, does it possibly mean something other than physically living when you talk about life there?
So how I speak to something is going to determine how that something responds to me. Okay. So if I have if I speak to my wife in a positive, affirming, fruitful way with direction that we talk, then she's going to respond to me by which the way that I talk to her. Now, if I speak to her in a way that makes her feel inadequate or makes her feel not worthy or fake or belittles her in some way, she's going to respond the way that I spoke to her. Most of the time, that it would be like she was offended or she felt something and it hurt her. See, pain has a way of coming back to us in a completely different, the way, it comes back to us and it hits us back. Okay. There's a response with our words. So whatever, it's kind of like taking a ping pong ball and throwing it against the wall, it's going to come back to me, or a tennis ball, I'm going to pop it, it's going to come back to me. How I throw it and the direction by which it is thrown is going to determine on how it's coming back. Okay. So same thing with words. It's a principle of sowing and reaping. All right. If I put tomato seeds in the ground in the spring and I cover it with dirt and I sow that in the ground and I put water on it, what do I expect to come back?
Some tomatoes.
Tomatoes, not cucumbers, not squash. I'm expecting tomatoes. We sometimes are saying stuff and we're wanting something to come back to us in a way by which we were hoping it was coming, but it wasn't what we said. The way we said it, we got back what was said to us or how we said it. And so the same thing is with life. When I speak words, there's power in my words and there's seeds. All right. And so I say things in order to get a determined result or determined harvest or a reproduction. If I sowed those tomato seeds in the ground, I get tomatoes, I cut one of those tomatoes open. Out of that tomato is going to be more seeds, and which is more opportunity. This is the abundance of life sowing words. Okay. There's a principle we talk, I use in my world too, is that whole principle of sowing. And so if the seed gets on good ground and then it turns into an abundance, it gives me a great return. If it falls on stone or it gets choked out by the thorns, all right, so it's not going to produce. I have to make sure that what I'm saying and how I'm saying it is going to be a fruitful end. Now, listen, I want to tell you before you take what I'm saying to true at heart, we're talking about lifetime of training and development and experiences on how to talk. And so certain words and certain types of language work, and they will work eventually. And it's just, you have to master the craft of that. But I know that if I speak life and I speak hope and I speak joy and I speak truth. All right. So some folks will say, well, I mean, you got to be able to tell somebody some negative stuff. No, I can tell them truth. Okay. Truth will set you free. All right. So there's true freedom when we speak truth, and truth can be spoken without being ugly. You can say truth and not be, I'm using that word not, but not be negative. Mm-hmm. You can speak truth and give it direction. Okay. So there's power, but when how it comes from me is going to determine what life comes out of it. And so I have to get my heart right. You said something earlier when we were talking about this, Billy. You said you were talking in the principle of almost like getting up. We talk about getting up every morning and evaluating ourselves, mm-hmm. because it's the potential that's in us that we want to come out. It's that what we see ourselves doing that we're not doing yet. We got to figure out how we can get there. And so self-evaluation is huge. I can sit here, you and I can turn on the news today. We can watch all these cats do all that they're doing, all behaviors going on in the world. We can sit here and get caught up in every news feed flying across our computer and our phones and all this stuff today. But none of that matters if how I receive it in my heart, if it affects me to the point that it causes me to say negative things toward the very people that I'm in a relationship with and leading, then all of a sudden my heart's not right. I'm not secure in where I'm at and who I am. And I got to be able to secure my heart and make sure my heart is right in order to be able to communicate effectively. You ever heard somebody say, hey, I'm just having a bad day. I apologize for what I said, and I've said it too. I still say it to this day, or I'm tired. I'm just overtired. That's why I said that, will you forgive me? And good people, good friends do, because they know your heart. In the same breath, if we keep on doing it over and over and over and over and over again, there's no change. And so this is the key point of what I'm trying to get to, is that we got to find out how to get life going for us, and then the reproduction of life, to have good, healthy relationships. And that's the evaluator. You know a tree by the fruit it bears. All right. So how do I know my words are life-giving words? Well, let's just evaluate the tree. Where's your fruit? Yeah. Who's connected to you?
Exactly, man. Absolutely. So, this may tie in perfectly. You talked about dreams. So goals and dreams, is there a difference? How important are them? How do you coach people? What do you tell people about their dreams? Tell me your thoughts. Tell me the principles that you know about goals and dreams. And I know I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I mean, you can make your dreams come true, man. Isn't that right?
You sure can. You can make them come true. You would never had the capacity to dream them if you didn't have the potential to bring them to pass. Okay. And so this is your soul and your spirit. This is your intellect, and your mind dreams. And so that download comes into your head, and it's a picture before it ever is a reality. And then the intellect is the intellect that you have is then the part that brings your dreams to reality. If I want to build a house, I have to learn how to build a house first. But I can see the house in a dream, but then I have to get the intellect. And this is where that whole wealth stuff comes in. I got to get the wealth of the intellect in order to build an appropriate house. The house I live in today is not the house I lived in 15, 20 years ago. Okay. My intellect has changed, and I've gained more wealth in my intellect. And so I dream of a house now that I can manage, but also build. And so there's a development of the dream. So that's why dreams never die. They're there. Okay. Some of the greatest books that were ever written or could have ever been written, some of the greatest ideas and inventions are buried 6 feet under in the graveyards right down the street here. They never became a reality. They never were brought to fruition. Someone died with a dream in them. That's the greatest tragedy, I believe, in our world today, is no one ever told that young man or that young woman that dream that they dreamed can become a reality. And that's the key. That's a massive key right there, Billy, that if we dreamed it, then surely we have the potential to bring it to pass.
You didn't ask to dream it. You didn't ask to dream it. So maybe it's divine put there.
Now you're getting into my speed here on divine stuff. All right. Okay. So let's take the divine side of this. So we'll take the life of Christ. Okay. Whether where your faith is or what, just stay with me real quick.
Sure.
So he's the Son of God. He is all God in man. He is perfect and sinless. He walks on water. Okay. He raises the dead. He does all these great miracles. He changes and alters people's lives. Here's the thing about Jesus. The book of John tells us that he knows and knew everything in the heart of a person before anybody else did. So he knew the potential of the people that he encountered before he encountered them. So you get the stories, the woman at the well who's been married 5 times and living with her 6th. All right. She's an outcast. She is pushed away from her society because of her issues. And we don't necessarily blame her for all of that. It could have been the man's fault too. But all we know is where she's been, how she's been pushed away. He did not see her history. He saw her potential. And the potential of her is to turn around and go back into a city that the Jewish people wouldn't even go to. But Jesus saw the potential. He went to her. And this is the power of what's inside of us. All it takes is us to recognize that whatever is in us, it's there for a reason. It's got to find its way to come out. And when it comes out, it's going to alter everything that our past has tried to define us as. Just like you were talking earlier about where you were and then how the car business. Well, let me tell you a little bit about my story. I was driving to work for 1.5 years without driver's license because of 2 DUIs. And so my company didn't even know I didn't have driver's license. And I was going to work every morning in a 95 Ranger pickup truck, driving home, hoping to God that I wasn't going to get pulled over because I was going to jail. But I had to live that out. And I was working, hopefully one day, to get my driver's license back. Okay. You understand this. So there's just this risk. There's just all this going on. But it wasn't, listen to me, I had made mistakes and all I was doing was reaping the mistakes that I've made, but I was still pursuing because I had a dream. And even to the point that even because of my mistakes and my history, I wasn't going to let that determine where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And you got to get up every morning knowing that if you dreamed it, you have the potential to bring it to pass. And the only thing that's between that is air and opportunity. You got to put the hustle and you got to continue to work and you got to allow every day to be a new day, fresh mercies every day. And you got to continue to build relationships with people. Show me your network. I'll show you your network. Your worth. Show me your network. I'll show you your net worth. Show me the people that you're constantly building consistent relationships with. And over a period of time, your dreams will become reality. Let me tell you, can I tell you the reason why one of the biggest things about the ministry that I have and how it was literally funded was a guy that I worked for years ago in the automobile business that knew my heart, that knew my purpose and knew my dreams. And he wasn't trying to get me to stay working at the dealership. He wanted me to go out and do what I wanted to do or what was on my heart. He turned around and through some great times with the church, wrote checks, Billy, to pay for my dreams. God has paymasters. There are people that are ready to fund the very dreams that you have inside of you if you'll just only act by faith and walk it out and believe in the dream that you have and believe that the funds and all the things that you think that are so far reached are never coming. No. All it takes is you walking it, speaking life to it, declaring it, walking in it, and achieving all that's in you. And it's all it takes. And God, I'm trying not to preach right here, but there are people going to be put in your life that are going to help take care of the things that you are inadequate to, that you have no skill sets for. There will be people that will step in roles, they will fund, they will help design, they'll bring certain gifts and traits into your life as long as you'll go for it, as you'll live that dream out and you continue to do it. And there will be doors that are open that no man could have opened them because you believed that it was going to happen, and people will just show up and bless you and get you to where you need to go. But if you just sit back and say, well, it's never, it's just wait, these guys do it. I'm just, that's bucket thinking. Get that poverty stuff out of you and start living like you're going to have all that you saw yourself having. All right. I'm going to say this because it's been on my heart to talk about this. Poverty, rich, wealthy. These are 3 different places that people live in. Okay. Poverty is a mindset. All right. You can have a dream. You can have an invention inside of you. You can have a book that could literally alter society. You can have an idea. You can have a business. You can have something in you that can come out and change the world. Okay, literally. But mindset will keep that thing in you, and that'll never come out. Poverty is a mindset, and it's a lack of access to sufficient resources. That's what you constantly are thinking, that I don't have this, I don't have that, I can't do this, I can't do that. Stop your stinking thinking, shut your hole, and start talking life. I can do this. I will do this. Change your language. That's all that is. That language takes you out of poverty. All right. That's all that is. Language removes you. And then being rich is accumulated access. Rich people accumulate stuff, and they have access to the things that they've accumulated. But wealthy people, they produce what they need when they need it. And they respond to conditions. So meaning that wealthy people have it in them. They know how to produce in times of difficulty. They know how to reinvent something. They know how to rebrand something, when to rebrand it, how to do it. That's a wealthy person. Rich person uses all the things they've accumulated and stored. Wealthy people know how to shift with the trends and know how to move and shift. And they're constantly working out, and they have answers. They know how to lead. They lead through tough times. That's what wealthy people do. And eventually they give an inheritance. They've got much to give. They tend to live under their means. They tend to manage well. They tend to know how to, they're not old in mindset, so to speak. They're rich in wisdom, but they're not old in mindset. They're creative. They're innovative. They understand how to move right with the times. You can get a bunch of money. I can go win the lottery today and have a bunch of money in the bank. That doesn't make me wealthy. That just makes me rich.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm from about the last 10 minutes, we're running over. It's okay. We're going to stay on. We got to keep this going right here. So from about the 1 hour mark until now, we need to make sure we get that information out there.
Got it.
The only thing that, this is a real interview. So this isn't just a yes. So the only thing that I would point out maybe, about wealthy people, I don't necessarily think they live below their means. I think they understand how to acquire so many assets that they have so many assets by creating, like you say, by solving problems. They've collected so many assets that they can't outspend their assets. Their assets accumulate money, accumulate cash flow, accumulate worth faster than they spend it. And of course they're not, a wealthy person has that mental capacity that knows you don't go buy $100 million jet because you have $100 million. So they're wise. You have to be wise. There's a couple more words I really have to talk about with you. I want to, you talked about that person who funded or either funded or helped fund your first church, possibly your first church. But I think you had his favor. So talk to me about favor.
Man, first of all, favor ain't fair. Oh man. It's not fair. It's just found on the obedient. And when we
Stop. Say it again. First of all, Shaka Dyson said, I don't know this guy, but I like this guy. So that's Shaka. He lit it up too. Next time I get Shaka on here, we're going to let him go over. So see if he can get more people riled up. But please say it again, Tim. Favor ain't fair.
Favor ain't fair. It's only found on the obedient.
Woo.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. And that listen, I am only where I'm at because I obeyed myself to get here. And so, this is good. Favor. So the principles of management create literally the culture of favor, meaning that I wake up every day knowing because of how I manage my life out of honor, then I am under this umbrella of favor. So meaning that I'm the head and not the tail. I'm above and not beneath. I'm the lender and not the borrower. right? So I'm living in this atmosphere of favor because of how I manage. And I wrote this down. This is good right here. So y'all get ready. This is one you want to go back and rewind and rewrite, because it's good. All right. Correct. This is the definition of management. Correct and timely use of another person's property and resources for the purpose for which they delegated it, with a view to producing the expected added value. So meaning that I am always my mind. All right. My mind. I'm managing things that aren't mine. Okay. This home, the understanding is that I have it, but it's not mine. It was granted to me because of the favor that is on my life. And so I treat it as a gift, not a possession. I treat my wife as a gift, not a possession. I treat my children as a gift, not as a possession. I treat my car, I treat my grass, I treat my home, my dirt, my properties, all that as a gift. And this is where the culture of favor starts moving, because now I've understood what management is. And so I will manage things better when I understand that I don't own them. And so they were given to me, but they're also, I'm held accountable to a higher power for what I do with it. And a lot of people live out their life, Billy, in relationships, with their things, even their work. There are guys right now working in dealerships that are jumping on this, and that we're connected to, and that you're connected to. They're working today, and they feel like that they're working for somebody instead of themselves. But all in reality, they're just managing someone else's stuff in order for the favor of God to continue on their life, to the point that he will grant them more based off of how they manage what they have. This is the principle of Joseph. You want to talk about favor? The favor was on him. The favor of the father was on him. He was betrayed by the sons, his brothers. He was betrayed. He was outcast. He was made to be a slave. He ended up in Potiphar's house, and eventually becomes the governor of the mightiest nation in the world, because the favor was on him. Why did he get to that place? Because he managed what was given to him. Though it wasn't his, he managed it well, and he obeyed those that were placed over him in authority, which then exalted him to a place of blessing and power. So that's it. That's it. That's what favor does. It just wakes you up with the right attitude, knowing what you have isn't necessarily yours. It's literally been given to you, and you're just to be found faithful with what's in your hand, and more favor comes. More favor comes. And with more favor comes more authority. More authority becomes more access. More access, more authority is with influence. That influence is growing, and people start listening to somebody who's got the favor of God on their life.
I like it. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, to the point of it's not ours. There's a very old book that was written. Actually, it wasn't even a book. It was written on the tablets. The Richest Man in Babylon. Are you familiar?
Yes.
And one of those principles in there is a portion, because this is a money show. This is Monday Morning Money Show. A portion of what you earn is yours to keep. Now, so here's what, when I was reflecting on this, of like, wow, I've never thought about this, that only a portion, none of it's ours. It's just there. Right. Okay. But a portion of what we earn is ours to keep. I was like, nah, all of us is ours to keep. I got to thinking about that. And then, there's people, and I know there's some dear loved ones of mine that have worked their whole life. Now they're getting Social Security. I'm talking about very productive people who've worked their entire life. And now here it is. And when it's time to be taking it easy, and you should have accumulated wealth. I'm talking about good people.
Yes.
That they've worked their entire life, and they don't have any of their money that they've earned. That there's a mindset. That's what this show's all about. So he's been giving you some vital, good information the entire time. Back it up, watch it again, take notes. You do not want to be 65 years old and not have some of the money that you've earned in your lifetime. Because part of what you earn is yours to keep. And the things that we're talking about today will help you keep them. But isn't it wild that there's so much good information out there, but so few people have the proper money education?
That's it. And I go back to the initial creation, go back to the initial purpose of mankind. Put them in a garden, and what is the thing they have an assignment for? And that is, you can eat this one, but don't eat this one. Appetite. It is appetite. Appetite. What is it that you're hungry for? What is it that you're nibbling on? What is it that you're tasting and chasing after? What is it? And so you could literally, you could be working in the shop in a dealership right now, changing oil, or or hourly rate, whatever you're getting paid or whatever, and you working 40 hours a week and you're getting $15 an hour or $20 an hour, whatever it is. It's a consistent check. All right. And you get X amount of dollars that come in every week. All right. Say you get $800 or say $1,000 a week comes into your check, get your taxes, all that stuff, and then you have this amount of money to spend. Okay. Now, your appetite is going to determine whether what's left. Okay. So what kind of car you're driving, where you're living, and what you're eating. Most people eat their inheritance every single week. Most people eat it with food. They jam their mouth full of corn chips and sodas, and they just shovel down all of this appetite for just to feed their flesh. They're not concerned about their future. They're just taking care of now. Okay. And what if that particular young man decided he was going to stop doing that, and he was going to start watching what he was eating? And every time that nice car came through the shop that he knew was a little expensive, but he kept buying it anyway. All right. And so he decided he was going to begin to build a life of discipline and management for his future. Now, we all know, watching this show, that if that young man started putting $200 a week right now back in an account or even a stock and started investing his money, and the next 20 years in the right stock and the right investment with the good discipline, adding more money to that, he's the next owner of the dealership, not the guy back there working in the shop. It's just appetite, and it's a blessing that is on the right appetite. And if you have a hunger for the right things, to do the right things, to discipline yourself, you can do anything. And no matter where you're at right now.
Yeah, it's so important. You can do, Tim just told you, you can do anything. You can be changing oil. You can be sweeping the floors, but you can do anything. You absolutely can. You have to change your appetite. If you're not getting what you want, then you probably are focusing on the wrong thing. And it's going to take some sacrifice. This is the last word. What you've done for us today is sacrificed your time. You've been on here for an hour and a half almost. You've given us some specialized knowledge. You sacrifice your time away from your family to go out there and represent us, represent the Digi Ninjas, represent Billy Merritt Marketing. Thank you so much. It's the first time I've even mentioned that, because that's not what this show is about. It's about you giving us some good information on how we can get rich, how we can become wealthy. But you can't do it without sacrifice. You've already talked about hard work. You've talked about improvement. You've talked about strategy. You've talked about principles. You've talked about honor. You've talked about so many things that that are vital. You can't have it without all these things. It's not easy. Tell me about sacrifice.
Listen, if it doesn't hurt, it's not sacrifice. Sacrifice is going to hurt. There's going to be pain attached to it. There's going to be isolation attached to it. You're going to have to battle through loneliness, and meaning that sometimes separation is necessary. Sometimes loneliness is necessary in order to see what is in front of you, or even see clearly where you're going. And so sacrifice, making an adjustment that is going to hurt, that part right there alone, we always talk about where there's no pain, there's no gain, but it's literally where there's no sacrifice, there's no gain. Because sacrifice alone, I'm going to sacrifice a couple things here. I'm going to set aside this. I'm going to break some habits. I'm going to break these certain habits that I've been doing in order to use that resource that I have for my purpose. And so there are times that I know this with my own life, and even to this day, I have to work through certain things to make sure that I'm doing it wisely, But if I feel like I'm getting myself a little ways, I got to pull back, right? Got to pull it back. And it does. It literally, there's a pain that comes from it. And there's an initial blow. There's a hit that happens, whether you get, now don't listen, walking by faith and believing in a dream that you have is going to require sacrifice. I've not met one successful person to this point in my life that they didn't do something that was risky and that got out there in some serious faith. And you can't, listen, you can't call it faith if you hadn't had to deal with fear. If it doesn't make you afraid, then it's not faith. If it doesn't hurt, then it's not sacrifice. Okay. So look at your life today. Evaluate the things that you're doing. If you're just getting up, running through the motions of your everyday activity without dealing with some sort of fear of moving forward in faith or feeling some pains of some things you're sacrificing, then you may not be advancing. You just may be maintaining. We're not called to maintain. I'm not called to maintain. I'm called to advance. I feel I'm called to grab hold of what is in front of me and rule instead of being ruled. All right. We are made to be rulers, not listen to me. We're made to govern. We're made to be rulers and not to be ruled. And the only way I get out of where I'm at today is recognize that there are risks that need to be took, and then there is sacrifice that needs to be made. And if I'll do that, then I'll begin. There's something, watch this. They call it a sacrifice of praise. I'll begin to find, I'll praise, I'll find something noteworthy, good to talk about based off of the sacrifices that were made to get there. You ever look back on your course of your life and say, man, I'm so thankful that I made these decisions. I'm so thankful that I gave up this, I did this, I left this, I did this. And now look at where I'm at today. That's all that is. And listen, I'm going to talk to somebody. I don't know who is on this today, but man, you may feel like that you're in a dead end spot. All right. There's no dead ends. There's no dead ends. Use what you have, use it well, use it wisely. I'm reminded of this today that a great man in the Bible, his name was Moses. He stood before one of the greatest oppositions that he had ever stood before. He had just led 1 million people out of Egypt. He had already moved them from Pharaoh's grip, but he stood at a Red Sea that looked like was impassable. And he took, though, by the instructions, and he grabbed a rod, the only thing that he had in his hand, and he put it down on the water, and it was the stick that was in his hands that caused the water to part. You're never without, and you're never at a dead end as long as you use what's in your hand. You have all the tools necessary right now to advance where you want to go. You just got to understand that and see that. Don't allow the doom and gloom and the worries and all this other stuff and what you feel going on around you to dictate what's inside of you. What's inside of you is coming out. Just stay to your purpose. Keep on working well. Let others speak well of you. Be well spoken of. Have the right attitude, the right heart. Let it come out in praise. Let your words be life-giving words. Find that great attitude, that great response to the things in front of you. And guess what? Those walls are going to come down. That water's going to part, and you're going to cross over into that very thing that you've been dreaming to walk into. All right. And I just wanted to say that today. My little preaching came out, but there we go.
Hey, that's perfect, man. That's a perfect way to sum it all up. I'm not going to try to add any color to that. I'm just going to ask you to rewind it and watch it again. I will ask one more thing, Tim.
Yes, sir.
Where can we find you if we want to get more information? If we like what we heard today, if we want to follow you, I'm sure we can just follow you on Facebook. How's the best way to get more, Tim?
Yeah, Facebook is it. We have Tim McCarn. You hit there. There's actually my personal, I have a fan page, so to speak, that's on there, but I also have a personal automotive page that I use with Tim McCarn. So just Tim McCarn Facebook. And then our church is Core Church, and that's where the live sermons every Sunday are there. And thank God that I work all the way through Saturday evenings, and I can get back to Charlotte on Sunday mornings and do my Sunday morning thing. But that's how it is. Tim McCarn. You can follow me on Twitter too at the real Timothy McCarn. But yeah, Twitter, Instagram, I'm on there too. McCarn Automotive Solutions is our company name. And, we're using that, Billy, to get out there in dealerships to do, number one, which is to coach and to help dealers and to help their team and to continue to build a good, solid team with creating positive results, which is an ROI, and building a good solid team, speaking these life principles to them that while we're there, while hosting, I believe, one of the greatest marketing events in the country, and our Facebook events. And so that's what we do, man. Jump on board, have me in your store. I'd love to come meet you, be a part of your team, spend a weekend with you, and let's make some money too also.
Hey, you know what? That's a wonderful idea. I'm going to read Ray Mucci's comment, please.
I think a sales meeting from Tim would probably be the most inspirational sales meeting ever.
Hey, that's a big compliment coming from Ray Mucci. So here's the, you know what? Ray Mucci's a Buyback Billy fan. Sounds like he's a Tim fan now. So here's what I propose right here. If you're a car dealer, first of all, let me ask you this, Tim. I think you said it. You were trying to be humble about it. I do appreciate it. When I do promote, I promote absolutely over the top. I have the most effective product in the car business, and that is my call center, the Digi Ninjas, combined with Facebook advertising, combined with someone like Tim McCarn coming in and talking to those people who want to buy cars. Now, here's what I propose, and I'll do it. I have a twin-engine Baron. It flies 220 to 230 miles per hour. If you're a car dealer and you would like a sales meeting with Tim McCarn and Billy Merritt, we'll fly to you. No obligation. We want an opportunity to walk into your showroom, meet with your salespeople. Your salespeople will never be the same again. We will give them information. We will give them our secrets. We will show you and your sales team exactly what you need to be doing on Facebook. You don't have to buy a thing from us. We just want to talk to your people. We'll make them better, which will help you sell cars. And we'll do it on my dime. So we will have to find a time when Tim's not in a dealership because he is very, very highly requested. You may have to give us your schedule, but the offer's out there. Reach out to me. I will fly to you. Tim and I will have a sales meeting with your people. All right. Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much for being on here today. It's the longest show I've had yet. We've had a record. It's about an hour. How long has it been?
It has been right at an hour and 30, hour 27.
All
This show had momentum.
All right, Grant's losing viewers today because they're watching me and Tim. That's okay. We can go back and watch it. We can watch it on the rewind. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tim. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Billy.
Yeah, man. Okay, guys. Look, that's the longest show I've ever had. One of my favorite shows. One of my new favorite guys. Relationships are so important to me, and what I've done right for the last 10 years. On purpose, like Tim said, I've reached out to people and I've built relationships with people all over this country. Now, he's in Charlotte. I've got friends in Washington State, Texas, all over the Midwest. I've got people who are my friends because I give value to them. And now I'm able to get back. I've got so many talented friends. I've got so many people with such specialized knowledge. And I'm going to keep bringing them to you right here every single day. Tomorrow is going to be what, Smith?
Check my calendar. I believe it's Ken Walls. Ken Walls, yeah.
Is that tomorrow? Wow. I'm
right.
excited. I get Ken Walls tomorrow after Tim McCarn.
Yes, sir.
And he's an Ohio guy. See, I got Yankee friends. And then, so tomorrow, I'm going to debate. Ken Walls live right here, live at 11. And tomorrow night, we're going to watch another debate. See you guys tomorrow.